We are live. You may begin.
Good evening, everyone. I am Carmen Cummings, a proud alumna of Florida A&M University, and we are so delighted to have all of you with us via several social mediums tonight for VTH, Virtual Town Hall for Operation Reopen, hosted by Florida A&M University and the FAMU National Alumni Association. We begin now with the invocation by Chaplain Keith Shannon. Keith, are you with us?
He's unmuted.
The invocation by Keith Shannon.
He's still muted.
Thank you, Brother Shannon.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can, sir.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Yes, good evening, Rattler Nation. I am Keith Shannon. I serve as your national chaplain for the Alumni Association, and I do bring greetings to our 18th national president, President Clark, to any former national alumni presidents that might be with us this evening. I know that we have our university president, Dr. Robinson, and bring greetings to he and First Lady Sharon, to our board of trustees that may be assembled, our foundation board members that may be assembled also. Thank you, Sister Carmen, my classmate and our moderator. I know that we have our FAMU administrators with us tonight, staff and possibly students, and do want to bring greetings to the regional vice presidents and executive board members of our time-honored association, and greetings to the Rattler family as a whole. We do recognize and respect and embrace the diversity of faith that may be represented on our call this evening. And our Creator still has our undivided attention as we stay inside and adjust to the new norms when we do go outside. And the dark cloud of death looms over the family once again as we've received word of the loss of our former esteemed administrator, Dr. Liddell Nealon, who was one of my mentors in Tucker Hall there. And also we've learned about the passing of our athletic director, Ken Riley. Both of them went home to glory in the past few days. And then we also learned of a former regional vice president of our Alumni Association, Dr. Benny Samuels, in the Northern Virginia area that has gone home to glory, as well as Rattler Andre White. And there are certainly others that we know about that have been reported. So we want to keep these Rattlers at the top of mind and the top of heart as we extend our condolences to these families as they restore. So prior to our collective prayer, please join me right now in a moment of silence honoring our fallen Rattlers and for the life of citizens whose lives have been cut short as a result of avoidable violence in our country. So join me in a moment of silent prayer right now, please. Let us pray. God, we come acknowledging that it is you that afford us the activity of our limbs and provide the breath for our bodies. And God, as we assemble, we petition you as humbly as we know how tonight, expressing our utter unease surrounding the breath denied to George Perry Floyd Jr., which resulted in his death. And God, we ask that you would please allow us to see the pendulum of righteousness swing toward justice, the type of justice that will bring calm and peace to our nation and world. Purpose has preceded our protest, and we pray for racial division in America to come to an end, God. Our hearts have burned as the city of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and an overabundance of cities in the United States of America still smolder. We've shed tears, and our communities and families have been through trials, and we even have a Rattler God at the helm of the city of St. Paul. We ask that you would cover him and his work. God, we thank you for covering, shielding each of us, for we know that you have not forgotten us. We know that it is you that continue to merge our yesterdays with our todays, and we believe, God, that you will guide our tomorrows. Thank you for the strong tie that binds us together, God, each of us having the blessed experience of walking up and down the highest of 7 hills in Tallahassee, Florida. We ask, God, that you would let our education lead to enduring empathy, cause our conversations to ignite the best in us, God, and continue to make us worthy stewards of our legacy and our learning. We ask that a special blessing be upon our leadership at every level of the university community, God, and we thank you for this town hall meeting tonight. We pray that our time together would be profitable and that it reignites that good old Rattler spirit within us. We pray that you would meet each of us, each and every person on the call, and each and every family, region of the country and department of the university represented. Meet us right at our point of need, God. Now, God, as we've asked before, if you would be in our heads and in our thinking and in our hearts and in our loving, in our hands and in our doing and in our feet and in our going, and give us the sustenance we need to plow the fields ahead. Amen.
Well, Ms. Calhoun, I don't know how far y'all got, but I lost my signal for a minute or two. Just let me
Nope,
know.
you just finished with the prayer.
Say that again.
You just finished with the prayer.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Amen, Dr. Robinson.
Amen.
Okay. What happened to Carmen?
She's probably having the same problems I'm having. We got a storm right
Okay.
overhead out here, and signal is coming and going.
Okay, I guess we'll improvise then. Okay, good evening, Rattler Nation. Thank you so much for taking time out your busy schedule this evening to come together to hear from the university. The message that's going to be given this evening will give us a blueprint whereby we can follow and be able to advise our alumni, those parents, those students that are in our respective communities. These are trying times, and I applaud the university for pulling this together. I can tell you that there are not many HBCUs that's doing what we're doing in this manner, way we're doing it, talking to faculty, parents, but keeping the alumni involved with this. So thank you for that. We're going to be looking forward to the questions that will be coming. I think there's some have already been answered. You know, let's have a good meeting and hope we can get everything answered for you tonight. And if we don't, we'll make sure that you got the right person's contact information so we can get those questions answered. So Carmen, are you back?
I am with you. Yay.
All right. Okay, I just gave my greeting and I'll kick it back over to you.
Thank you so very much, Colonel Clark. We really appreciate all that you do for our alums and for Florida A&M University. We sincerely appreciate our FAMU family for being with us tonight for the virtual town hall, our VTH on Operation Reopen of Florida A&M University. And while we know that there is a whole lot of buzz surrounding Another subject, the university's decision to transition from the MEAC to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Tonight's discussion will not focus on that move, and we will, of course, have another virtual town hall a little bit later in the month, and we will definitely keep you posted on that with details on that. But the focus of tonight's session is moving FAMU forward amid COVID-19 and the return of students, faculty, and staff to the highest of Seven Hills. And so we want to thank you in advance of all of your questions. Some will be addressed in the opening remarks of our panelists. Others will be handled later in the programming. We begin now with opening remarks by the 12th president of Florida A&M, Dr. Larry Robinson.
Well, thank you, Ms. Cummings and Colonel Clark, for giving us this opportunity to engage with the alumni in this virtual town hall meeting. We are really pleased to see that so many of you have joined us as we share with you our operational plans for reopening the university in the midst of this COVID-19 pandemic. Let me say up front, as I've said to all groups that we've met with thus far, that the health and well-being of the FAMU community, which includes you, alumni, and the National Alumni Association are our highest considerations. I want to begin by thanking Ms. Rika Calhoun and the task force that developed this plan for the long hours and hard work that they put in to making it, getting us to this point. Just last week, we presented this plan to our Board of Trustees and it was approved, allowing us to submit it to the Board of Governors. We met their June 12th deadline, sending them the plan for their consideration just yesterday. The next step in the process will be that the Board of Governors will then hear each state university system's plan in its June 23rd meeting in Orlando. So it is our desire to provide you with information to help everyone in our community understand how things are being proposed to operate this fall. But I just want to make sure that everybody understands one of the tenets of everybody's plans across the system is flexibility, understanding that the circumstances around the pandemic on June the 10th could be quite different than they would be towards the middle or end of August. So we're prepared to make adjustments as necessary. However, you are collectively and individually very, very important ambassadors for Florida A&M University, and we need your continued support and commitment to your alma mater during these very, very difficult times for our students, their parents, their families, and their communities. So we'll explain to you our plan this afternoon or this evening. We have already, as I said earlier, we met with faculty, students, parents, and staff. But it's also important to know that you're just as important to us. And so we're glad we have this opportunity. We have received a tremendous number of questions in advance of this actual Zoom meeting. And our presenters will incorporate some of their responses or those questions into their responses. So I want to thank each and every one of you who took the time to send those questions in advance. I encourage you, if you have questions this evening, to place those in the comment section as well, so we can address as many of those live questions as we have time to this evening as well. So thank you for joining us tonight. I think you'll find this session very important, very informative. And as it was mentioned, this is not our last time coming to you. We will have additional town hall meetings. Sometimes some of them will be around specific issues, some will be more general, like this one, in the days and weeks ahead. I believe the next town hall meeting is scheduled for June the 25th,
June 25th.
at 3 p.m. Okay? And so with that, I turn it back over to Ms. Carmen Cummings to get us started.
Thank you so very much, Mr. President. Leading the operations task force for Operation Reopen is Ms. Rika Calhoun, who joins us at this time to outline a lot about this plan. Thank you so much, Ms. Rika, for being with us.
Good evening. Thank you. As Carmen mentioned, I will be providing the overview of the university's reopening plan that was approved by the Board of Trustees on June 4th. Like many universities across the country, we have spent the last months responding to the pandemic and planning for reopening. The contributions of members from every administrative and academic division across the university continue to aid this large-scale effort. The approved fall reopening plan was developed contemplating the internal work of the task force and response teams, as well as external guidance from industry partners and state oversight bodies. Key assumptions during planning focus on the continued presence of the virus, the impact of comorbidities, and the importance of training and education reinforcement. The university's reopening plan also comports with the blueprint approved by the Florida Board of Governors. The blueprint serves as an outline of critical elements for all universities in the state university system to consider. The 5 elements of the plan include a focus on healthy campus and community environments, COVID-19 virus testing, contact tracing and surveillance, and academic program delivery. A few highlights follow. We are continuing preparation of constituencies and spaces for the fall. Some key points in the timeline to our fall reopen focus on training and cleaning protocols, as well as the return to campus faculty, staff, and students. Faculty, staff, and students will receive COVID-19 education and resources before returning to campus. The university is employing a phased approach to ensure that we are appropriately managing returning groups leading up to the reopening. Each administrative and academic unit must complete an employee risk assessment to determine employee risk levels. Risk is identified based on the levels of workplace exposure and opportunities for mitigation. The first phase is scheduled to return on June 15th, and this phase includes senior leadership and financial services for year-end closure. Additional phases scheduled for return are scheduled every 2 weeks thereafter. Employees who are not in the current phase of return to campuses will continue remote work as determined by their supervisor. Employees and students may request assistance from equal opportunity programs for our faculty and staff, and the Center for Disability Access and Resources, or CEDAR, for our students. Resources for Living is available to employees for mental wellness support as well. Social distancing will be observed on our campuses as evidenced by signage and reduced occupancy in facilities, classrooms, and residence halls. The university has implemented enhanced cleaning protocols, which you will hear more about tonight. Faculty, staff, and students are required to wear face coverings in buildings, classrooms, and in public spaces in which social distancing cannot be observed. And that also extends to visitors and vendors as well. The university is providing return kits to employees and students, which include 1 disposable face covering, 2 reusable face coverings, and 2 personal containers of hand sanitizer. Each kit will also contain information about university expectations regarding hand and cough hygiene, social distancing, and behavioral expectations. Return kits will be available to employees on the first days of each phased return back to campus. And these kits will be distributed to different points on campus. Hand sanitizer refill stations will also be placed throughout campuses and identified offices. COVID-19 testing is available free of charge on our main campus through our Bragg Stadium site. Faculty, staff, and students are strongly encouraged to take advantage of testing. We have located community testing sites for our satellite locations, as well as the College. You will hear more about the COVID-19 Detect and Response Framework as well. So those are some of our highlights. We know that the COVID-19 pandemic is an unprecedented event that is quickly changing all the time in the backdrop of current events, including national unrest and the 2020 hurricane season. Flexibility is not only needed in planning, but through implementation. So you will hear great information tonight about the things that the university is doing to prepare for the return of faculty, staff, students, and everyone in our family, and having a successful fall reopening. But we cannot do it without you. We, as members of the university community, must commit to the shared responsibility of keeping ourselves and each other as safe as possible. So it's critically important that we adhere to the policies and protocols enforcing the university's response to COVID-19, including social distancing guidelines, facial covering requirements, and hygiene and cleaning practices. We look forward to welcoming you back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rika Calhoun, who is leading the charge on Operation Reopen. Thank you so very much. We are so pleased to have the support and participation of our leadership, the president, Ms. Rika, and the remaining members of the senior leadership team who are on this very important virtual town hall tonight. And joining us now for remarks about the academic landscape and what that's going to look like is Provost Dr. Maurice Eddington. Dr. Eddington, one of the hottest questions that I have seen repeatedly is, what will the classrooms look like? Will there be plexiglass to shield faculty from students and protect students as well?
Thank you, Carmen, and good evening, everyone. I'll start with that. So we're going to work with our facility staff very closely to, one, ensure that the classroom space is configured to enforce and promote social distancing, as well as installing as appropriate physical safety equipment. And that would include in some areas shields, but also personal protection equipment for the faculty. And so it's going to be a combination of solutions to help try to provide the safest environment. But we're taking that very seriously. And again, it's going to depend on what the physical classroom space itself looks like and what we determine is the best approach for that particular setting. Okay. And so I wanted to provide some basic information related specifically to our plans for offering academic instruction for the fall semester. First, just please note that our plans for how we're going to offer instruction in terms of the schedule is being worked on every day as we speak. We're working in collaboration with our academic deans and our faculty to update our course offerings in light of the fact that we have made a decision to offer instruction via a combination of face-to-face and online at the undergraduate, graduate, and professional levels. Our academic support services will be provided to students in both the remote format as well as in person. In terms of the schedule for the semester, our current plans are to begin the semester on time, which means the first day of classes will be August 24th, and the last day of class will be December 4th. At the Thanksgiving break, we have made a decision to transition to fully online instruction, meaning up until Thanksgiving, we'll teach in that hybrid mode of some classes online, some classes face-to-face. But after Thanksgiving, all classes will transition to remote instruction to finish out the term. And as was stated earlier, in the classroom, all students and faculty will be required to wear face masks and adhere to social distancing guidelines. In terms of the spring semester, no final decisions have been made regarding the mode of instruction. Obviously, we're focused on the fall semester, but as we move forward, we will be making those decisions about the spring term at the appropriate time. With respect to summer commencement, it will be held as a virtual ceremony per a directive that all institutions in the state university system recently received from the Florida Board of Governors, which instructed us not to have in-person summer commencement ceremonies. With respect to the Marching 100, they are working with the band staff is working with our campus health professionals to develop a plan that will govern how the band will practice and how the band will perform. And I'll take this last question, which had to do with the courses that the students will have. Will all students have at least one face-to-face course? And while we are working to provide a variety of face-to-face courses for students at all levels, we can't guarantee that each and every student will have at least one face-to-face course. That will be dictated on the final course schedule, which we will make available to the students in early July. So Carmen, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Provost. I'm sure we'll be hearing from you a little bit later in the program. The student experience and campus movement will also be impacted as well. Here now to tell us more about that is Vice President of Student Affairs, Dr. William Hudson. Dr. Hudson, one of the hottest topics among alums who are also parents happens to be, what are the residence halls going to look like? Roommates or no roommates?
Good evening, Carmen.
Good evening, Dr. Hudson.
First, I want to say good evening to everyone, and I would like to personally thank the alumni for your passion, your dedication, your perseverance, and your flexibility during this COVID-19 epidemic. We all know that you go above and beyond the call of duty, and it is very much appreciated. Please be sure to take care of yourselves and your family during this time. I have several topics, not just the one concerning housing, Carmen, that I want to provide information on to answer many of the questions that students and parents alike have asked, and also alumni. And I'll start with orientation, move-in, and housing. In order to comply with CDC and local requirements for physical distancing, the university has converted on-campus housing double occupancy rooms to single occupancy. University housing is assigned on a first come, first served basis. Approximately 1,905 residence hall rooms are available, which include first-time students and returners who selected on-campus housing during the early application period, starting in November of 2019, and were awarded housing. Students who wish to opt out of housing may do so without penalty by June 22nd, 2020 at 5:00 p.m. If a student opts out of the fall, they will have to reapply and will be assigned housing based upon availability for the spring term. Students assigned housing have been notified via university email. Students who apply for campus housing and are on the wait list will be notified once vacancies occur. Students who do not have the ability to secure on-campus or off-campus housing will have the option to take a full course load online. Students who do not receive university housing will receive a refund of the $200 deposit. Move-in will be August 15th and August 18th based on the student's major. New student orientation will be held the next day, August 16th through the 18th, and the next day, August 19th through the 21st, which are also major specific. This information can be found at the new student orientation website, and students have received communication through the university official mode of communication, their FAMU email. Students should check their email daily for updates from the university. Now, students will have to move out of the residence halls on Wednesday, November 25th, unless they have documented extenuating circumstances prior to the first day of class. I'm going to repeat that. Students will have to move out of the residence halls on Wednesday, November 25th, unless they have documented extenuating circumstances prior to the first day of class, August 24th. The housing rate has been prorated and is based on halls closing at the Thanksgiving break, unless students are residing in the university apartments and have extenuating circumstances which require them to stay through the end of the term, which is December 13th. The university will not close November 25th. We will still remain open through the end of the term. Students do not have to remove all of their belongings. They will return to their same space in January. There will be a town hall for students and parents on enrollment management next week to answer more specific questions about admissions, housing, new student orientation, and financial aid. Students can check their emails by Friday for the date and time. The villages will remain a two-person suite as they have separate bedrooms. Scholarship students are required to reside on campus for 2 years. After those 2 years, if students are on full scholarship, which covers housing, they will receive funds based on the lowest university housing rate to cover off-campus housing expense and a commuter meal plan. Presidential scholarship students should have already reserved housing as it was a contingency for the scholarship award. Students will be allowed to have vehicles on campus. However, they must register all vehicles with the Department of Campus Safety and Security. There is no vehicle registration fee for enrolled students. Students will need to visit the campus safety website and follow instructions on registering their vehicle. The shuttle buses will continue to run per the schedule. We will continue to encourage students to download and utilize the FAMU app to ensure they are receiving real-time information on arrival and departure of shuttles. We also encourage our alumni and other constituents to download the FAMU app to keep up with different events on our campus. There will be a lower number of riders for the fall semester, and we will increase our shuttle frequency to ensure students have a positive commute. Student Code of Conduct. The university's Student Code of Conduct applies to students' behavior on and off campus. Once again, the university's Student Code of Conduct applies to student behavior on and off campus. Students are expected to comply with all state and federal laws, rules, and local ordinances and orders. Failure to do so constitutes a violation of Regulation 2.012 and will be addressed accordingly. We do hope that students will consider the risk of exposure and potential risk to their loved ones if they don't comply with the guidelines. For student activities and student life, the Everson Student Union, Office of Student Activities, will be conducting virtual programming throughout the summer and fall semester. Programming information will be sent via FAMU Info as well as the iStrike portal. The Everson Student Union, Office of Student Activities, has asked advisors and chapter officers to develop a fully virtual plan for recruitment for clubs and organizations. Intake for fraternity and sorority life will rely solely on the national headquarters guideline for virtual intake. Let me read that again. Intake for fraternity and sorority life will rely solely on the national headquarters guidelines for virtual intake. Fraternities and sororities will not, and I repeat, will not be permitted to perform in-person membership intake until after consultation with all stakeholders, including Student Health Services. Admissions and recruitment. Currently, the ACT test registration deadline is June 19th, 2020, with a test date of July 18th, 2020. If you know students who have not had the opportunity to retest, this is their opportunity. I also want to plug here that students that do not meet the requirements have the option of enrolling in the FAMU Ignite program and enrolling at their local community college in the state of Florida, Florida Community College, and take courses and earn the AA and transfer to Florida A&M University. We are hopeful that we will have the option to visit high schools and community colleges in the fall for recruitment purposes. However, the decision about recruitment cannot be determined at this time. We must wait until school districts make a determination regarding their operations in response to COVID-19 and adherence to social distancing guidelines as published by the CDC. In the interim, we continue to develop alternative strategies for recruitment. Please, please, please do not have student send-offs that may jeopardize your safety and student safety during the COVID-19 epidemic. We want you safe and sound, and we want to also have the students safe and sound. Thank you for your continued service to the university, and I'm available to answer questions if needed later. Carmen, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hudson. You covered a lot of territory there, but I'm sure we'll circle back. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to VTH, the virtual town hall hosted by Florida A&M University and the National Alumni Association, Operation Reopen for Florida A&M University. Now, FAMU has garnered headlines across the national stage for its protocols and high-profile alums for standing tall during protests and during the pandemic as well. There's also been a lot of chatter about the federal funding that Florida A&M University has received and what that means, what that fiscal picture looks like. So joining us now, we'd like to welcome our CFO of the university, Dr. Alan Robertson. And Dr. Robertson, can you tell us what those funds have been used for so far, if there are restrictions on those funds, and what the forecast looks like, even through the pandemic? Will the well dry up?
Happy to, Carmen. We've received two awards from the CARES Act 1 and CARES Act 2. The first one was approximately $13 million. Those monies were divided 50% for students and 50% for the institution. So we immediately turned around $6.5 million to our students to help them to get back home and to deal with the coronavirus expenses and to acquire technology to work remotely. And so that happened very quickly. We turned that around April 20th, I think. No, before that. So that, I think we turned it around in a matter of 2 weeks. Then we sent kids home in the spring, or our students home in the spring due to the pandemic. And we took an additional measure to refund room and board. And we lost a substantial amount of income. That was over $4.2 million that we returned. And that lost revenue created a significant decrease in our operating revenue. Our auxiliaries also declined. We have more than just the res halls.
You still with us?
We have more than just the residence halls as auxiliaries. So our dining, our athletics, our bookstore, our residence hall, those things make up about 25% of our operating revenue. And they also pay for the university's debt related to housing and our dining hall. And so when we lose enrollment, it's a big deal. Our tuition and fees represent about 34% of our total operating revenue. And those support the academic mission as well as administration. And our fees cover auxiliaries, athletics, student affairs, health services, our police, capital projects, and our technology. So enrollment is critical to our financial stability. If enrollment declines, it will have a greater impact than our auxiliaries, but they both matter because combined, that's 50% of our operating revenue. Some of the refunds related to, and then we received the second part of the CARES Act, that is being allocated to improving our teaching online and remote education. It's going to be used for student financial support for the families that are continuing to experience financial hardships. The President shared with us today that there are over 40 million 40 million people in the United States that have applied for unemployment insurance. African American unemployment is over 16%. And so we're sensitive to that, and we're doing everything we can to help our students to fill that gap between the cost of attendance and what they can, the expected family contribution. So what else are we going to do with the CARES money? The second tranche of CARES money. The third leg of that is basically operations and making sure that we're sanitizing our operations, cleaning, disinfecting, and buying personal protective equipment for faculty, staff, and students. I think Provost Eddington talked a little bit about what we're doing to make the classroom safe for the students. I think VP Gaucher will talk a little bit about what we're doing with the athletes to make them safe. But those are the major things, Carmen. I have a brief synopsis of our construction projects. I don't know whether any questions came through about those, but I can quickly show the 5 projects that we have going on campus if Mike would allow me to share my screen.
And while you're working on that, if we could do a This Just In, And thank you so much, CFO Robertson. I have just been informed that the chair of our Board of Trustees, Chair Kelvin Lawson, has joined us. And Chair Lawson, if you'd like to say hello, we'd be most appreciative.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. Thanks to Linda Bars-Miles for getting me the link as well. But it's good to be seen, good to see everybody, and I'm sure this will be an informative session. I know Dr. Robertson has a lot of good information that everybody wants to hear around finances. So, you know, just looking forward to listening to the balance of the discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, Chair Lawson.
Well, second day.
The second time. Okay, so we have 5 major construction projects going on campus. And let me see if I can make this a slideshow. We have the CAS building, which is the Center for Access and Student Success. We're also building a 700-bed residence hall, a new central energy plant to support both those buildings. We have a new FAMU student services dining hub that's under construction. And finally, a student amphitheater. So I'm not going to go into all the detail, but I will share with you some of the pictures. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. So the Center for Access and for Student Access and Success is about 65% complete. You see the rendering on the right, which is the architectural rendering, and you see the actual project on the left. It's a wonderful building, and it will, Dr. Hudson's operations will primarily be in this building, and we're looking forward to bringing this online, I think in September. The next one is our 700-bed residence hall, and you can see there on the right what that quad is going to look like. It's coming along. This will be online in September. We've experienced some delays with all of our projects because of the pandemic. This is a central energy plant. It is operational. It is cooling the 700-bed residence hall and will cool the dining hub once it's up and running. And this is the dining hub. It's a lot further along than this. We were having major mud issues in January and February, but you can see what that's going to look like on the right. It's a multi-level facility, and it's going to be really nice. And then finally, our student amphitheater. This is 98% complete. We just have to put the canopies on, and then that structure will be complete as well.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Robertson, for that presentation, for the update on all the truly exciting construction projects that are taking place on campus.
Thank you.
We appreciate you so very much. And while we know that we've got great expansion taking place and thankfully federal funding that's still coming our way, I do believe that there is still room for alumni assistance, fiscally especially. So who better to speak about that than the Dean of SBI and the Dean of the Dollars and the Vice President of the FAMU Foundation, Dr. Shante Friday Stroud. Is there more to be done, Dr. Stroud?
There is always more to be done. First, let me start by saying thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to all of our alumni, family, and friends who continue to support us through your financial contributions. We greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate them. We had an awesome run for our first ever inaugural day of giving, 1887 strikes. If you all will recall, we were able to raise over $213,000, quite a bit, which was used to go to FAMU Cares. And our FAMU Cares effort has been able to provide funding for us to buy laptops for students who need them to be able to continue their online education, as well as to provide funds for students that needed to travel home during the end of the spring semester. So yes, unfortunately, the CARES Act money does not provide for all things that are needed by the students as well as for the university. And so we definitely need everyone to continue to give. Again, our 1887 Strikes campaign not only focused on FAMU Cares, but it also focused on the NAA SOS Fund, Save Our Students, which provided dollars for students to graduate. And with those funds, it is helping us. I don't know, Dr. Robinson, if we've shared or talked about the fact that our performance funding total of about $13 million that we received because of our performance with four-year graduation rates and other metrics. Those SOS funds have definitely gone a long way to help that. And even, you know, we need it every semester because we're trying to close out this academic year by helping students to graduate this summer, and some of them will definitely need those SOS funds. We also raised funds for the various schools and colleges, as well as for the Rattler Athletic Fund. So the university is in need across all areas, and so we need you to dig deep. As Dr. Robinson says, don't give till it hurts, give till you go numb. But we are sensitive to the fact that we have people who may be in various financial situations during this, this unprecedented time that we happen to find ourselves in. But I will say, under the Federal CARES Act, that the government is providing additional benefit from a tax deductible perspective when you make donations. So again, if you can give, and I will say, doesn't matter how big nor how small, collectively, all of those dollars add up to help us, help our students, which ultimately will continue to keep FAMU rising. So with that, I'll turn it over and continue to give.
Okay, thank you. There was one question that just came in relative to the CARES Act dollars. Will book stipends be offered to students, and can those dollars also assist in strengthening internet hotspots, places where internet might be weak on the campus, if that's a possibility?
So I'm not exactly certain with respect to how the rest of the CARES Act dollars will be administered, because much of the funding from the CARES Act for students was actually distributed through, has already been distributed. Right. And then I think there's another portion, and Dr. Hudson could probably speak to this, that is that students can apply for that can demonstrate a need. But what I will say, and Provost, hopefully, I think I'm able to say this, but we have entered into an agreement with Cengage, and with Cengage, for all textbooks that are Cengage textbooks, students will basically be able to pay about $150, $160 a year and access all of their books. I will say, I know for, let's say, a school like mine, years past, I used to be able to could offer a $500 book scholarship, and it would cover all of the students' textbooks. Mm-hmm. Of course, over the last decade or so, it's doing good to cover 2 textbooks. But with this new partnership with Cengage and access to all the online textbooks, literally a student could, we could actually try to provide scholarship dollars or book scholarship dollars to enable students to have books. So that's another reason that we need people to give. I mean, if you think about it, if you actually were to donate just an extra $160, $175, you could help provide the books for a student for a semester. So I don't know that the federal CARES Act dollars will support that, but I do know that if you donate money to FAMU Foundation, those dollars can support book scholarships.
Thank you so much, VP. We'll circle back with you a little bit later in the program. Earlier today, in welcoming some community partners at the COVID site, it was interesting as I watched them gazing out at Bragg Memorial Stadium just before we left. And one of the hottest questions on the athletic menu was today, When will fans be able to really come back to brag? Will we be able to come back? And will there be homecoming? And so we know that one person who may be able to dive into that would be Vice President and Athletic Director Courtney Gaucher. If you would join us now and please answer that question, we would be so grateful, sir.
Carmen, thank you so much. And I always get the hard questions, but we're excited to be here. And if we were in person, I would ask if there's any Rattlers in the house.
Yeah.
Alice in the house.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, since we know that there are, we're excited to give brief updates over the athletic department. And just to keep the tone of giving, I'd be totally remiss if I didn't thank our Colonel Greg Clark and the National Alumni Association, but in particular, our Polk County Alumni Association, who we announced today a $45,000 gift to the All In campaign for FAMU athletics. And so we appreciate that gift. And I do believe that there's cash in hand. So that is always a good day on the Hill, and we're so appreciative of their contributions to help us take athletics to the next level. In addition to that, it has been a busy month, and the National Alumni Association has helped us partner with the Application Cash App. And so from the day that we launched, we saw an initial infusion of additional revenues, and so we're excited, and tomorrow we will be announcing another updated thermometer for the All In campaign that shows significant growth. We're excited about what the fall will look like. We are working with campus and our campus leadership team to determine what our process will be to reintroduce student athletes back to campus as early as July 1st. On today, we tested about 20 student athletes and we're waiting the result of their test. And so we're excited about that process. We were talking to Coach Simmons this morning. We're excited about starting the season in Miami and ending in Atlanta with a national championship trophy. And so our games and our events will look a little different. We will have limited capacity. And so our process will be to honor season ticket holders, investing in champions, and Rattler Athletic Fund members in that particular, not in that particular order, but for priority access to our games and our facilities. Social distancing will be a part of kind of this new normal of our athletic events. And so within the next 30 days, you will continue to see more information about what those events will look like. However, we will be following our campus and CDC protocols every step of the way. And so all indications look like we will be playing football in all fall sports, and that includes homecoming. Homecoming will be a little bit different. I know there are questions about some of the ancillary events around it. And our goal is to, obviously maintain all of our traditions and normalcy as best we can within the new protocol set forth. And so that's what we will continue to be working for. But I urge people to continue to buy your tickets. We need you to invest in our program. If you stay ready, you don't have to be ready. And so that's what we're working towards and continue to give. Rattler Athletic Fund is a mechanism that will continue to support our student athletes in this time. And so we're excited about the future of FAMU athletics. Big news last week as we conclude our final tour in the MEAC and transition to the Southwestern Athletic Conference. There are great things happening on the Hill, and I appreciate our National Alumni Association, our Board of Trustees, Chairman Lawson, I see you're here, and our President, Dr. Larry Robinson, for their support of FAMU athletics.
Thank you so much, A.D. Gaucher, for giving us that appetizer. We look forward to hearing more about what the season is going to look like. And a question that I think has come through at least 5 times, whether it's you or whether it's Dr. Hudson, if we could get another highlight relative to the Marching 100. I believe Dr. Hudson indicated earlier that is being reviewed. Performance practices relative to the Marching 100, and whether all of the band members are going to be allowed out there is something that's currently being reviewed at this time. Is that correct?
Correct. And Dr. Hudson, I'll let you get into the details on that one.
Yeah.
And people are still asking if alumni can attend homecoming events. And as you have said just a few moments ago, Director Gaucher, that homecoming will not be the landscape that we're accustomed to having a great time there at Florida A&M University. And I know, Dr. Hudson, that you're considering all of those venues because alums do often request to host events on venues there in venues on campus.
Yes, Carmen, and they're going to be fluid. We're not going to do anything that violates, just as the students have a code of conduct, the university has a code of conduct to keep everyone safe. And so we're not going to allow venues to have different events that puts people in jeopardy. So as the situation changes or does not change with COVID-19, we have to be very cautious. And so we're constantly reviewing, just as a university has a plan to reopen, every organization and every department, including your musical ensembles, have to have plans to open with safety in mind during this COVID-19 epidemic.
While I have you, Dr. Hudson, there's been several questions relative to tuition discounts for out-of-state students.
That actually goes to the provost.
Provost.
Yeah, thank you, Carmen. Yeah, so those tuition rates are set in terms of what we charge in state versus out of state. And the reason why those fees are different is that the state of Florida subsidizes the cost of education for residents of the state as an acknowledgement that they contributed to the tax base. And so out-of-state students are actually paying what we call the true cost of education, which is why we can't change those fixed costs. That's what it costs for those out-of-state people to take courses at FAMU, right? So we are working to explore other mechanisms to provide financial support to students in need who may be out of state, as opposed to changing the tuition rates, again, which are fixed.
Another question that's come in, what about masks? I believe you addressed that in some regard. Will students be required, or is it just a recommendation to wear masks in their face-to-face classes?
Oh, that would be a requirement.
Okay. And what about those registering, or will they have to re-register based on hybrid protocols?
Yes, so there's going to be some modifications to some students' course schedules. So the original schedule for the fall that's currently out, it only included, well, I shouldn't say only, it included the traditional course offerings, right? Some of those were online, but we're going to update it to reflect the fact that we're going to have more classes online and more classes at times that are outside of the normal 8 to 5 time to accommodate the reduced numbers of students in the classes. And so we're working to make those modifications, which will be made available to students in early July. And so the consequence is that some students will have to modify their course schedules to accommodate the changes.
I see. I'm not sure if Ms. Tanya Tatum is on. I believe she was earlier. Tanya Tatum is the Director of Health Services there at Florida A&M University. And there has been a question relative to whether the COVID testing site would be extended beyond the summer date of June 15th for students specifically, and of course, faculty and staff.
Thank you, Carmen. I'm here, and we are really looking forward to having a great relationship with the state and with the Department of Emergency Management that supports the work between Bond and FAMU to run the COVID site and the COVID testing site. And we have been given guarantees that we will be open probably through the summer. And I'm expecting that we'll still be operating into August.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what is the suggestion? I'm sure there is one for students as they prepare to return to campus. One of the questions was, will this be mandatory for students to be tested before they show up at Florida A&M? And this is a parent.
Okay, we are not, this is Tanya again, we're not mandating testing. However, we strongly recommend, as you can hear my puppy in the back also.
Sounds like the pooch is strongly recommending that as well.
So we are strongly recommending that all faculty, staff, and students be tested before their return.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ms. Tanya, for being with us. Appreciate that. And your little one back there. For President Clark, we know that you kicked off things for us with greetings. And Dr. Hudson also mentioned this earlier relative to recruitment events, but there has been a question from some alums, President Clark, as to when the ban will be lifted on galas and other face-to-face gatherings that are very popular, golf tournaments and such. I know Dr. Hudson made his recommendation relative to the send-offs that a lot of our alumni ambassadors host. But what about the gala celebrations, and what will the national conference look like in November that's planned for Orlando?
Okay, thank you for the question. The initial order I put out with regards to in-person meetings is still in force. So, and that means no meetings, no student send-offs. Next week at our board meeting, executive board meeting, we'll take a look at the next steps forward. Unlike the university being here in Tallahassee in one place, one thing we have to take in consideration is we're spread all over the country. And what we want to make sure we do this right, because we certainly do not want to violate our liability insurance in what we're doing. So after talking to the general counsels and even consulting with the university general counsel, we'll put some next steps in place on when we will roll this out. It'll be sooner than later, but I want to make sure we do this right. With regards to galas, you know, there's going to be some protocols that those hotels, those venues will have. And sir, we got to take a hard look at that as well, because when we doing these functions in the name of Florida A&M University National Alumni Association, may well say we're doing in the name of Florida A&M. We want to make sure that we're not putting the association or the university at any kind of risk around this. So if you'll be patient, we're working on it, and we'll have a game plan, hopefully to ready to roll out pretty soon. You can still do your Zoom meetings. That's great. Keep doing those kind of things, and let us roll a plan out. And I think the next step would probably be allowing you guys to get back together in some kind of manner to start having your chapter meetings. But as Dr. Hudson said, I want to make sure that we don't do anything to harm the students with the student send-offs, and that's where we are with that. So just give us a minute, because we're dealing with a nationwide pandemic, and our protocols have got to be thought about from a nationwide perspective.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. And we'll stay tuned for those details. Another question, this may be for CFO Robertson. What will service in the CAF look like? Will students be required to wear masks there too? And what will the traditional buffet lines look like?
Okay, so our service provider, METS, is working very closely with our auxiliary group to basically create seating outside as well as inside the cafeteria. There will be directional arrows on the floor, and it will also provide for the appropriate social distancing in the cafeteria as the students proceed through. They're developing a call-in where people can call their orders in and pick them up And that's going to be throughout all of the venues. So, and they're going to open it up so that we don't get a lot of students, faculty, or staff at any one venue. And the employees are wearing masks and gloves and appropriate protective equipment. Students and faculty staff will be allowed to eat in the cafeteria, but there will be appropriate distancing according to state law. I think we're at 50% occupancy in restaurant venues at this point. And so we're going to follow those guidelines as well as CDC guidelines. They're also, we're exercising the same protocols for sanitation of surfaces and the interior as we do in all of our other buildings. We are installing extra filtering systems, including UVC lighting to keep anything that may get into our HVAC systems. And so we're taking every precaution humanly possible to ensure the health and safety of our faculty, staff, and students.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Robertson. And we'd like to thank all of our panelists. And President Robinson, for you, this is actually an acknowledgement from a parent who texts from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. She wanted to convey gratitude for the VTH tonight, the virtual town hall, and appreciated the support on behalf of you as president and President Clark for hosting this kind of critical discussion on Operation Reopen for Florida A&M University, and looks forward to other town halls to provide this kind of worthwhile information in the coming weeks. And we also want to remind all of you that programming this evening was recorded, and this will allow you an opportunity to view it again on the FAMU coronavirus website. It's on the main website. Just look for the FAMU coronavirus element and you'll be able to find it. I also believe that President Gregg is planning to load this session on the FAMU NAA Facebook page as well. And with that, I'd also like to thank Mr. Keith Miles. I tell you, we've been in the trenches together for several days now, preparing for this. Thank you so much, Keith, and your communications team for assisting with all of these BTH endeavors, and also to the FAMU tech team, Michael Simmons, Ron Henry, Wayne Dunwoody, and all of those who are part of that, and the NAA team, Ms. Artisha, Brittany Smith, and others who are part of that. And with that, Mr. President, we will yield to you for your final remarks. And I believe there's also a little bit of dessert, some spiritual dessert that you may want to punctuate everything with, because even though we can't be together in the fashion that spirited rattlers are accustomed, there are some traditions that never get old.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Cummings. And I want to thank all of the alumni for joining us, and thank Colonel Clark and his leadership team for giving us this opportunity. Thank Chairman Lawson for joining us. He and I talked earlier today. He indicated he might join in. I'm glad you were able to participate in this virtual town hall. And then, of course, I want to thank all of the panelists for sharing their expertise with you. And once again, I want to thank Ms. Rika Calhoun and the task force for the work that they did in preparing this plan for reopening. I just want to try to put something, one or two things in context, and then I'll be done. These are very, very difficult times, and I don't think the bottom has occurred yet. I suspect that students and their families are going to be struggling with this for some time. Some of the obvious things, in terms of parents and guardians not being employed, but even the students who benefited from internships this summer, we've seen a drastic decline in those. Some of the entities tried to go virtual. So that's lost revenue for the students themselves. Students who will be coming back might not have available some of those part-time jobs that they counted on for revenue as well. And the only way to fill that gap is going to be us, right? And I just want to commend you for what you've done. You know, support the students at this university, keeping them here and getting them here. I think you've done an excellent job of that. We have a much bigger challenge now because of the sort of the global nature of this pandemic and the impact it's having on students. I don't care where they come from. So we got to hang in here together, and I know I can count on you to do that. One of the things that we talked about earlier is that we want FAMU sort of to be the role model of how institutions manage to navigate these very, very difficult times. There are those prognosticators who are not expecting all of us to get through this, all of us in the higher education arena. They think there will be some tragedies, in particular institutions like ours who are under-resourced traditionally. We want to prove them wrong, and I'm sure that we will. You know, we spent a lot of time talking about the CARES Act money, and I want to just tell everyone here and anyone listening how much we appreciate having those dollars. They really have made a difference, but they don't make up for all of the losses and all of the financial challenges we're going to have, not just in the next semester or the next semester after that, but you know, there's lost revenue that we're going to be struggling to recoup for some time. We are the ones who are going to make that up. You know, your generosity and your support of the university, making sure those young people keep on their path to FAMU is going to be vitally important, because as Alan Robertson pointed out earlier, you know, losses in student revenue isn't just about tuition, it's about all those other things that you know, they generate in terms of fees, in terms of auxiliaries and so forth. So we need your help, your continued help in getting those students to the highest of 7 years in Tallahassee. I want to advise all of you to be safe yourselves, to be good role models for the students, and helping them get to us, you know, in good health, right? And remembering that although they are young, you know, some of the folks in their households aren't. Some of the people they encounter on this campus aren't. So let's think about it sort of big picture when we think about how we're going to interact with them in the virtual or the real-time situations that some of you have enjoyed doing over the years, and I've loved participating in myself. So with that, Ms. Cumming, I guess I end on this note. When the dark clouds gather on the horizon, when thunder and lightning fill the sky, when fate is but a glint in the eye of a falling rattler, and hope's a lost friend, when the sinew in the chest grows weary from those hard-charging linebackers, and the muscles in the legs grow tired from those hard-charging running backs, you must always remember the Rattlers will strike again.
Strike again.
Let's go,
Thank
Rattlers.
you so very much. Thank you so very much, Dr. Robinson. And thank you so very much to our FAMU family for being a part of this evening, our BTH on Operation Reopen Florida A&M University. And the floodgates are opening on even more questions. If you didn't get a chance to hear some of the commentary at the top of the program, this recording will also be showcased on the FAMU Facebook website, and Colonel Clark also has plans to share that on the FAMU NAA Facebook as well. And also, we will be compiling these questions and providing answers with via the panelists who joined us tonight. So be safe, Rattlers. Thank you so very much. FAMU today, FAMU tomorrow, FAMU forever.
Thank you.